Okay. All right, guys. Welcome to tonight's Fit Family Network team webinar. I'm so excited that you guys are joining us tonight. Our usual routine is we all sign on around 8:45 for some pre-call chat. And then I'm going to just take us through some. And if you are on the call, if you could just mute yourself, and then I'm going to do a screen share so you can see my screen. And then after that, we just kind of have some open chats. So here we go. Can you all see my screen? Thumbs up. Okay. All right. So today's June 15th. And in the last 7 days, we have added 267 new coaches into our team. So that is super awesome. And it's just so mind-blowing to even think that that many people, you know, have gotten added in. And it's just exciting because, you know, those are all people that have made a decision, you know, that they're joining our team for one reason or another, whether it's to get fit, get healthy, lose weight, start a business, whatever it is, it's just exciting, and they have no idea what's ahead of them, but still super cool. And just looking at that kind of growth, I mean, I remember when I first started doing team calls and I first started even looking at those stats of, you know, how many new coaches have been added. And, you know, it used to be like 1 or 2 a week, and even that was exciting. And so then going from that into like a double-digit number, like 10 coaches, then I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And now, you know, seeing these numbers, it's really cool to see the growth. So we are going to just do some announcements, some shout outs, and then our topic tonight is about leadership. So a huge shout out to our Success Club earners. This is updated as of today. So hopefully you guys that got some points over the weekend, they should be reflected here. But I'm so excited for those of you that are already have your SC10 locked in. So if you got Success Club 10 last month and you are registered for the summit, you just need to have a total of 25 points between this month and last month, and you will be going to the super exclusive Success Club party. So I know, let's see, I'm looking at the list. I know for sure Nicole Cave will be there, Jenny Beauregard will be there, and I'm not sure who else made it last month, but I know you two did for sure. So that's super exciting. Maybe Jason Bartolowitz as well. So far, already in Success Club 5, there is a bunch of you, and we still have half the month left. So still a lot of time to keep on pushing and inviting and following up. And then we've got a bunch of you who already have points on the board. So like I said, still half of the month left with our best program on promotion. We always seem to do really well with 21-day fix on sale for $140, and fix extreme as well for $140. So those are great programs to be sharing and getting people plugged into a challenge group. Even me, if you guys remember last week, I kind of admitted that the fix isn't my go-to program. I think I may even finally dust off my copy of Fix Extreme and actually give it a try for once as my pre-summit program. We'll see. Okay. So if you guys went on to teambeachbody.com today, you see that rock star in the middle. That is our Fit Family Network coach, Stella. She is, or actually her team name is Star Fitness. And so she was featured by Beachbody today, and they actually published her story, which is so cool. And, you know, sometimes when you see these stories, you know, you don't really attach them to anybody because you're like, oh, you know, who knows who that person is. But it's even more cool when it's somebody that you know, somebody that you see posting, and you know, she posts in our group all the time, and she's adding coaches, and you know, she's getting results, and she's definitely proof the products work. So I was so excited and happy for her to be spotlighted, and I think she has an amazing story. So make sure, if you haven't done so yet, to definitely go on to the Team Beachbody page, share that story onto your page, and just, you know, give Stella some love, because I know it was probably, I know I would probably feel nervous, you know, having my stuff out there out in the open. And so it's been so cool for her to be able to share her story in that way. So just make sure that you give her some love, because that is such a cool achievement. And she won the $500 Beachbody challenge. So that is also super cool. All right, we had a new rank advancement last week. Sarah Manaresi, she's a new Emerald coach. So she just signed up in June, and she's already got her 21-day fix challenge group started, and she's got people in there ready to go. So I'm super excited to see, you know, how the rest of the month goes for her and going forward. I know she's going to be one of our success starters, getting her call with Carl and getting her summit ticket for next year. So way to go, girl. Super, super proud of you. Okay, for those of you who are going to Summit, this was posted in our Summit group, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew. We are going to be hosting our own workouts at the hotel. So for those of you that don't want to go and do the workouts, you know, with the trainers, this is an option for you as well, because we have our very own Fit Family Network trainers, as you guys know. That was one of all of our favorite parts from Winter Summit, was actually, you know, being able to have our own classes. Allie taught a PIO class. Kelly Greeno, she taught a turbo class. That was at Winter Summit. We don't have a schedule together yet for our Embassy Suites workouts, but it's going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Well, I think Saturday is up in the air, because I know most people are going to want to go to the super workout. But anyways, I'm super excited about that, and that's going to be a great thing. And it's just something that we don't normally get to do. A lot of us are certified trainers. Michelle Harris, she's one of our Insanity trainers. Nicole Murray, also Insanity and PIO certified. And normally, if you don't live near them, then you don't ever have the opportunity to take their class. So it's just a great opportunity to spotlight some of our own rock stars on the team and be able to have them teach a class for us. And so when I woke up this morning, I was already registered for Summit because, well, Jenna and I are both elite coaches, so we got to register early. But I had this vision in my mind of from Frozen. I just saw the movie for the first time, which I know is crazy. But I just saw it for the first time last week while I was sick, and I was picturing in Frozen when Anna wakes up and she was like, "It's coronation day," and I was thinking about that, like with registration, because everybody was like excited and, you know, anxious and nervous and whatever. But so today is registration day, so hopefully you got, I didn't see anybody having too much of an issue, so hopefully you were able to get in, get registered, and get into, you know, the track that you wanted to be on, and you got registered for the workouts and all those things. If you have any issues, post it in our Summit group, but it was pretty self-explanatory, so that's really exciting.
Very good.
All right, so we are going to get into our leadership stuff, and leadership is one of those things where, what is it even? Some days I think I have it figured out, and then other days I feel like I get the worst leader, you know, award for the day. But there's just so many different things that comprise leadership, and especially when it comes to our business in particular, and just ways and things that you can do to lead your team and inspire them to want to follow in your footsteps. So as I was thinking, I can't just do a call about leadership because there's just so many little subtopics. So I was trying to think of something that we haven't talked about already, and I came up with the idea of influence and the power of influence. And as I was just thinking about what makes this business different, what makes our team different, things that I think have been difference makers for me in my own journey. And I was just thinking about the power of influence and how much it actually does play a part in your role as a leader. And basically, the first thing I want to tell you before we go any further is whether you have a coach on your team or not, whether you have signed your first coach, you are already a leader. The first day that you have somebody click follow or click accept on your friend request, or subscribe to your YouTube channel, or subscribe to you on Pinterest or Instagram, you are a leader because you are putting content out there and you are showing people a path. And whether they follow down your path is a different story, but you are in fact showing people what you're doing, and that is a leadership quality. So you do have influence, and once you realize that you have influence, you can utilize that to inspire your team and create confidence in them to be able to do things that will lead to a successful Beachbody business. I took a lot of tonight's content from some stuff with Tony Robbins, which is always one of my go-to people for motivation, especially in the area of entrepreneurship and leadership. And he said, to effectively communicate, well, I wrote communicate, but he said communicate. We must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world, and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. And you guys know I love to talk about love languages as well. And I think it's basically, he's saying the same thing here. We all kind of communicate and receive messages in different ways. And if you can figure out each person's, language, then you can get pretty far. So setting the example. It's not enough to know how to do something. You actually have to do it. And that's, there's so many different quotes that come to mind of things that we've talked about before, like, speed of the leader, speed of the pack, and, be the best coach on your team, be the best challenger in your challenge group. I know that you guys know the 3 vital behaviors. I know that you have to put the DVD into the player and press play, and you have to drink your shake. But it doesn't mean anything if you yourself aren't doing it. And you probably have figured out that it doesn't work if you're not doing it too. So the first thing about setting an example is demonstrating that you are committed to your goals. There's a lot of opportunities for you to kind of share what your goals are, whether they're in your business or your own physical transformation, your own personal goals with maybe like debt payoff or education goals, business goals, being in Success Club, being a Success Club All-Star, rank advancing, those kind of things. You have to show that you are committed to those goals. And just because you don't meet the goal doesn't mean that you weren't committed. But if you are out there and showing your team and your followers that you are there, you're in the trenches, then they are going to respect you for that. There's a handful of you who I've been on Facebook Messenger with, like on the 30th or 31st, like at 11 o'clock at night, trying to lock in my last Success Club points for the month. And I've been there right with you, like right next to you, and we were checking back and forth with each other, like, hey, how are you coming along? Do you think you have somebody? Are you going to lock it in? Or, just kind of getting the play-by-play. And, there's part of me where it's like, well, gosh, I don't want people to know that, I'm supposed to be the leader of this team. I don't want them to know that it's the last day of the month and I don't have my Success Club goals locked in. But that's the wrong way to think about it. You want people to know that you're human and that you're having the same struggles and that you're right there with them, doing those follow-ups, doing those invites, and just not giving up. And so I think anytime that I have shared with people, that I was there in that place in the final hour, I think, that people had more respect for me, because they understood that, Success Club points don't just fall in my lap like sometimes people think they do, and it's totally not the case. I still have to do all the same behaviors as everybody else. So do what you want your team to accomplish. If you want your team to be getting Success Club, then you have to be earning Success Club. If you want your team to be rank advancing, if you want them to be at Super Saturday, at Summit, at the leadership retreats, being on the team calls, that is such a huge one, National Wake Up Call, team calls, then you have to be here. And I will be the first one to admit that, there was a time before I started, before Sandy and I started doing Fit for Life team calls, where I had kind of stopped going on to Team Dynasty calls because I was kind of like, I've already heard Scotty talk. I already know everything he's going to say. But as soon as I stopped making it important to be on that call, my coaches weren't on the call anymore, because it's just, you lose that accountability. Sometimes if I expect to see certain people on our regular, Monday night call and I don't see them, then I send them a message and say, hey, I didn't see you on the call. What happened? And it's just an accountability thing. You have free will. You can do whatever you want with your night, but you're the one that told me that you want to grow your business. You're the one that told me you want to be an Emerald coach, or you want to be, a Success Club All-Star, or whatever it is. And so if I check in on you, you can't get mad at me, but I'm just telling you that, those same things, you have to do that for your team. And whether you have one coach or 50 coaches, the behaviors that you start now are going to be the same behaviors that are going to keep with you. It's so much harder to change habits as you go along. Okay, so a couple of Success Club stats that I wanted to share with you. And there is a group that is run by some of the corporate people in Beachbody, like Carl Deichler, Jeff Hill, Michael Neiman, and it's 5 stars and above. So they're elite and non-elite coaches in there. And there was this whole thread about Success Club. And there was coaches that were talking about their income. And since that group is, supposed to be private, I didn't want to share anybody's actual income. But I did think that these stats were really eye-opening, and so I wanted to just share these. Let's see, SC10 All-Stars earned 60% more money than SC5 All-Star. SC5 All-Star earned 10 times more money than coaches who don't or just occasionally achieve Success Club. And SC All-Stars rank advance 35% more often than coaches who don't or occasionally achieve. So remember that these are averages and Beachbody doesn't guarantee, blah, blah, blah. So of course that would be in the corporate group. But those stats aren't, that was just some stats that another coach put together. So those aren't stats that Beachbody gave. That's just kind of on some other person's perception. And then here was another one. If you had SC5 consistently, you're on track to being a 6-figure earner in 2 to 3 years. And if you hit SC10 consistently, you're on track to being a 6-figure earner in 1 to 2 years. And if you guys know about my story, my first year, I was very hit and miss. And I wasn't an SC5 All-Star until 2013. Right? Yeah. And then, so I was an SC5 All-Star for 1 year, and then I upped my goal to SC10, and now I'm on my second year of SC10. So I did not, so I would say that those stats are pretty accurate because it took me about 3 years to become a six-figure earner. So, and I know Scotty was an SC10 person right off the bat, and I believe he got to six-figure earners in 1 to 2 years. So those are definitely accurate. And sometimes, you know, depending on what kind of day you're having, you may look at it and say 2 to 3 years, like, that's just way too long. But if you think about it, you know, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or some other profession that is a six-figure earner, how many years of school are you going to go to? How many years are you going to spend being, you know, the low man on the totem pole as you work your way up? So that doesn't seem like that much of a commitment to me. So just something to think about. Okay, so what is your influence style? Are you somebody who is assertive? You insist that your ideas are heard and you challenge the ideas of others. Are you convincing? Do you put forward your ideas and offer logical, rational reasons to convince others of your point of view? Negotiating, you look for compromises and make concessions to reach outcomes that satisfy your greater interest. Bridging, you build relationships and connect with others through listening, understanding, and building coalitions. Inspiring, you advocate your position and encourage others with a sense of shared purpose and exciting possibilities. I think for me, I see myself in a few of those areas, and I think it just kind of depends on the situation and the kind of person I'm talking to. But 5 steps to increase your influence. Understand what your influence style is. So, you know, like I said, I think I fall into a couple different ones. But if you just kind of think on, generally speaking, which one you kind of fall into. Analyze your situation and know that, you know, these styles are not one size fits all. So which one of those styles is going to best serve your coach? Identify your gaps. Where do you think you're really strong and where could you improve? And of course, it's going to tie back into PD. So those areas that are, you know, where you're lacking a little, you could probably better yourself with a PD in that category, and then practice. So it's not going to always be natural, you know, especially if you have a coach or a challenger who you think may be a total opposite style than you, then it's going to be a little unnatural. But, you know, the more you do it, the more you try, the better that you are going to get and the more comfortable you'll feel. Okay, so working one-on-one with your coaches, sometimes, and I will even admit, it's a little awkward sometimes, especially if it's a coach that you met through social media or, you know, you're not friends with them, you know, in real life yet. Of course, most of us all become really close and good friends. But it's part of your job as a coach to get to know your coaches. And I really believe that this could transfer to challengers as well and be effective. But it's your job to get to know your coaches and just to figure out what motivates them to achieve their goals. You know, some of us are motivated for totally different reasons. You know, some of us are motivated because we want to feel significant in the lives of others. We want to feel like we're making a difference. Or, you know, some of us have some really big, you know, dream big goals, whether they're financial goals or rank goals or some kind of an achievement. So one thing that you can do to just kind of figure out, I think that it all ties in together of people wanting to feel like they matter. And this is something, it's a basic human need, and we all want to feel like somebody cares. Somebody cares about how we feel. Somebody cares about our motivation, our goals, and why we're doing this. So if you can figure that out and deliver that message of belief, then that's really what is going to drive your team forward. So one way is providing significance in a sincere way. And basically what that means, I think, is just just letting people know that you're there, not pushing them to host a team call or to go on all these webinars or anything like that, but just kind of showing kind of just friendship, really. Just, I think a lot of people join our team for the family, for that place to belong. I think, yeah, that's what it is. It's the belonging. That's the word I was searching for. And, that is an invaluable feeling. And I've talked to a lot of you one-on-one, and I know that is a need that has been filled through our team, is that place of belonging, because we're all kind of weird in our own ways, and that's totally cool. And it's great to find a place where there are other people that get it. So the other thing is cultivating growth opportunities. So there's other people that like to be challenged. They want to be pushed. They want to, they reach a goal and they're on to the next thing. They don't ever feel satisfied. So those people, you've got to constantly be putting that next nugget out for them, that next bar that they need to reach so that you can raise it the very next day. That's definitely not me. If somebody treated me that way, I would get scared off and run under the table. But there's people like that where they need to be treated that way. And if you have coaches on your team or challengers in your groups that is that kind of person, then you need to recognize that and treat them that way. If it's a challenge group situation, maybe just doing their workout every day isn't enough for them. You need to give them additional assignments, additional things to keep them engaged. Okay. And then the last thing is developing meaningful relationships and connections. And that's just, there's a lot of things that can get in the way of Beachbody, whether it's the business or the workouts. And the thing that's going to tie people together and, have them not let go is the relationship. If they feel like they can fly under the radar and send in their cancellation without you noticing, then they're going to. But if you have a relationship with them where you're in constant connection, you're talking to them, you know what they had for dinner, you know if they drink red wine or white, or if they drink coffee or tea, like those kind of things keep you connected, and it's hard to walk away. And I'm not saying we're trying to trap anybody, but I'm just saying that, through those relationships and connections, when you have those days where you're like, you know what, I'm not cut out for this. This isn't for me. It's never going to click. I'm never going to get it. I'm not going to ever hit Success Club. I've been trying for months, or I'm never going to be diamond and this and that. It's easy to talk yourself out of what your potential is. And if you have those relationships and connections, then it's, I would have a much easier time convincing you to stick with it if we had that relationship. So that's why it's important to create those connections. Okay, so new coaches or seasoned coaches, all of us can benefit from meaningful guidance. And one little trick that I have learned is, we can all always improve. So if you have a success story that you want to spotlight and give somebody like a shout out, like, oh, that's awesome, you hit, you got SC10, I'm so proud of you. That's also a great time to tie in a piece of constructive criticism as well, because you're giving them a high five, you're patting them on the back, and you're upping them So at the same time, if there is an area where they do need a little bit of correction, they do, like maybe you haven't seen them on the team call, like that's a great time for you to say, I'm so proud of you for hitting Success Club. One thing I want you to work on now is just making sure you're being consistent showing up on the team calls. And I'm not directing that at anybody right this moment, but I'm just saying that, you know, throwing something in there at the same time that you're giving, you know, a shout out is a great way to bring up something that needs improvement. And also just giving people specific feedback on areas where they can improve. You know, that's part of what your job is as a coach and as a leader is, you know, closing the loop. You know, in your journey, you've learned things, and maybe it's taken you from here to here to learn everything you've learned so far. So your job as a leader is to make it so they don't have to go through all this. Like you can shorten the gap, maybe this much, you know. So if it took you from here to become successful, you can tie that up into a smaller package of this size and hand it to your coach and say, here you go. And then they can take that and they can create it and make it their own to hand off to their coaches. And so that's basically what I'm trying to say here. And, you know, just giving that specific advice and feedback, that regular feedback. And, you know, that's something that I'm constantly working on myself, because I love to give shout outs. I love to give praise. I don't always like to give constructive criticism because I am a very non-confrontational person. So it's harder for me to bring up when I think somebody may be going down the wrong path, or if they're, you know, if I see some inconsistencies, it's a little bit harder for me to say, hey, do you really think that's really the right accountability partner for you? Or, you know, it's just a little bit harder for me to do that. But so I'm just trying to teach you guys from some of my own failures, you know, areas where I am trying to improve myself so that you can. So I'm trying to close the loop for you. All right, so here's your call to action. First of all, take ownership of the fact that you are a person of influence. That's what a leader is. And what you do matters. People are watching. And, you know, they are watching if you're posting about your workouts. They always notice. And I don't know about you, but I could post every day about my max 30 and show my max out times and the whole 9 yards and hardly get much interaction or comments. And then if I don't post about it in 2 days, then that's when I get somebody that says, oh, what happened to that max 30? So it's like people notice when you don't do it. So you know they are watching. So just remember that, whether it's your team, your challengers, potential prospects, lurkers, we've all had those people that come out of the woodwork. So they're always watching. So just make sure that you realize you are a person of influence and what you're doing has potential to influence people. What is your influence style? We've got asserting, convincing, negotiating, bridging, and inspiring. And what style do you think your team would be most receptive to? So post that in the, in the team page, post your takeaways. I'd love to hear your feedback on this topic. And that's it. Oh, I forgot to add it in. Oh, well, I'll just tell you. We have a guest speaker next week. We have Jenny Beauregard, who's going to be sharing with us next week. The topic is not decided yet, so you'll just have to stay tuned. But I'm excited for her to share. Last time she was on the team call, it was an awesome call, but there was like a bunch of technical issues and it didn't get recorded properly. So, but that was a while ago too. So she has grown so much as a leader since then. So I'm excited for you guys to hear from her. So anybody have anything to say?
Jen, what do you do to like identify your weaknesses? So if you were saying earlier in the call, you know, that you're identifying like what you do well and what your strengths are. But how do I guess, go through and be honest with myself and decide what those weaknesses are and what I need to pinpoint?
I would say to I'm going to post the picture in the group of the What's Your Style one, so that way you can see the name and the descriptions again. And then I would kind of just look through and analyze, think about the people on your team and think about what style they would be most receptive to, and just think if you lead them in that way. And if not, then how you think you could improve. Because maybe the way that you think that people are, because most of the time we think people receive messages the same way we like to receive messages, just like love languages. If you feel loved by receiving gifts, then most likely you give love by giving gifts. But that person may receive a gift and be like, oh, well, thanks. They may not understand the thought, the care, the time, the money, everything that went into that gift. They may not understand it and see that as love, so just, you always have to be on that same page. And that's the whole confusion of relationships, whether it's a business relationship or personal or family or whatever.
I think so.
You're welcome. Oh. We have some chats. Let me see. I feel like this may be a trick.
That was the questions.
Oh. Is there a love languages workbook? I think so. There's also an online quiz.
Okay.
There's also Mike and I met with this behavioral analyst guy. I forgot exactly what his title is, but he's in our business network group, and he you go through and you kind of rate yourself in certain areas, and you're actually going to look into having him as a guest speaker on our call, or some kind of things like that. So I think it would be really helpful. And what he does is he teaches people, how to connect with customers. He works in sales and he helps sales teams and stuff. So if you have somebody who's really into statistics and information and wants to read the whole policy and procedures and, wants to read everything line by line and, know all the stats and everything, you deal with that person in one way. And if you have somebody who works just purely on emotion, where they're oh, I can lose 15 pounds in 21 days. Where do I sign up? That kind of person, you wouldn't want to send the policy and procedures to, because they're going to be why did you send me this? So just working with different personality types, is tricky. But if you can learn the kind of person that you're talking to and how to best connect with them, that's kind of how, that's the secret. One of them anyways. What else? I have sports psychology, but don't have any coaches. I would love someone with a psych perspective. Okay. Well, yeah, that's definitely something we are working on. So stay tuned for that. How often do you go and reach out to coaches who aren't as communicative with you, or that you feel you have something you want to teach them? So do you mean you reach out to them but they don't respond?
Or just in general, aren't reaching out to you? They'll maybe respond when you're writing to them, but I feel I'm just kind of hi, how's it going? What's going on? Why aren't you talking to me? How can I help you? And so I'm wondering how often you do that, and do you reach out to everyone every time, or is there a system?
Well, personally, what I do, and this is a new system that I just started, is I've just been kind of putting it on a rotation of reaching out to 3 of my personally sponsored each day, just randomly, whether they're an active, inactive, rock star, whatever. And I was listening to a call. Oh, it was on, I do this accountability chat every 2 weeks with some people, some other elite coaches in the central region. And she was talking about how when she became 9-star, she made a video to her team and was just kind of telling them that she was 9-star because of them, you know, and it wasn't just those 9 coaches that were diamonds that made her 9-star diamond. It was a total team effort. It was those emerald coaches that made the diamonds. And then it's the personally sponsored coaches, like the discount coaches, that gave her enough PS coaches to be a 9-star. And you know, coaches that are, you know, that flip-flop between active and inactive, that are, you know, still participate in the groups. Like, all of those people played a role in her achieving her goal. And so I thought it was really cool that she, you know, gave some credit to those people who are just a discount coach, because you know, they are meaningful in your business. And a lot of our businesses are made up of a good chunk of discount coaches. So I never refer to them as just discount, or I never write off people that are inactive or anything like that, because a light can switch on in their head at any moment. You never know. Oh, hey, Kristen, you got on. Okay. Sounds like a plan. Yes. Okay. Is there something that you have done? Where did it go? Is there something you've done with your coaches in the past that helps to make your team more cohesive instead of just a team of individuals? Oh, gosh. I feel like that's such a constant mix, or such a constant thing. There was a PD that was just recommended to me called the Energy Bus. I have it on my PD list. I haven't read it yet. But my accountability partner, Shiva, she had asked about that, and somebody gave her that recommendation. She bought it, and she said she read half the book like in the first day because it was really good. So Energy Bus. And I think it's hard if you don't have a local team. Like, my team is very much spread out, and I have very few local coaches. And, you know, just having Zoom chats, I think, helps, you know, because you're seeing each other face to face. I don't know, Tina, if you saw the video I posted last week, my leadership lowdown, about engaging downline, or engaging discount coaches, that I posted in the top coach group. But I was just talking about, you know, getting them to work with you to do free groups, like ab challenges and things like that, clean eating groups. Those kind of things are great ways to kind of give them a role. And anytime that you give somebody like a responsibility, it kind of gives them some ownership and just kind of gives them a little more like meaning, I guess. So, you know, just gets them to take that next step, and it's not as scary of a step since it's a free group. What else do we have? I try to get people interested, and then when they show interest, I ask them what their goals are. We get on a pretty good roll, and then they ask about the price, and then they're totally turned off. How do you deal with this? I feel like I'll never have coaches without being pushy, and I'm not a pushy person. Yeah, well, me neither. I am like the most unpushy person that you'll meet. And I think like the first step to that, like to overcoming that, is to not be attached to the outcome. And
That's a good idea.
every month, and Mike, my husband, always says this, like, once my SC1 to SC10 are semi-stressful points. because I have stress about it. I'm like, I worry. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to have SC10 and blah, blah, blah. And then like every point I get after SC10 is easy. Like they just come out of nowhere. And it's because I'm not attached to the outcome anymore. I'm not worrying about it. I'm not having any disbelief or negativity. I'm just going about my day, inviting people, talking to people, and just leading with passion instead of leading with worrying about Success Club. Because that's definitely not what you want to do. And I obviously do know that, but it's still natural, because if that is your goal, and especially, you know, like if it's something you're thinking about every day with Success Club, being an all-star, being a legend, and all those things, then obviously it's in your head, but you just can't lead with that as your, you know, as your pure focus. So that's definitely the first thing you have to get rid of, is being attached to the outcome. And once people realize that, you know, you're doing this regardless of if they're getting on board or not, you know, here's what I have to offer. Here's the success rate, or here's some success stories from my group. This is what other people have had happen from participating in my group. I would love to have you. And then on to the next. So always just keep a list, so that way you can go back. And one thing I like to do, and I don't know if this is like kind of a jab or whatever, but when people don't join my group, the next month I will share with them and be like, oh, I just wanted to show you my person, you know, so-and-so, my friend, she participated in that group that you were thinking about joining, but you didn't. Well, I say it nicer than that, but, and I'm like, you know, I'm so excited for her because she lost 10 pounds, and she's so excited because, you know, whatever the success story is. And I just specifically share that story about the group that they were supposed to join. Because, and I guess it is kind of a jab, like, hey, this could have been you, but it wasn't. And it just kind of reminds them, because I have been in that spot. Like, there's people that have gotten, you know, made some better financial decisions or savings type decisions that I have been wanting to make in the back of my head, but haven't. And so sometimes when I see it, I'm like, oh, that could have been me. I could have been the one paying off my house, or whatever, not paying off my house, but just certain things, you know, when I see other people achieving it, it just digs at me a little bit. And then when it is that person's right time, then they'll join, and they'll remember, and they'll, you know, you'll be the first person that comes to mind. Hi.
Hi.
Mike just got home from school.
There's something I never thought I would say.
Oh, Molly says, hi, Jen. Hi, Molly. What else? It took Jen months to get me.
Who's that?
Kristen said that. Let's see. I will go back and
I
look.
think you have to be. It's not pushy.
Yes, it's pushy, persistent, not pushy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You still have to be like that with me. And most of your coaches, or most of your challengers.
Yeah.
You still have to.
So, okay. Well, does anybody else have any questions or comments?
When's dinner?
I didn't know that was coming. Shakeology for dinner at our house. Sometimes I'll say, he's like, what's for dinner? What's taking so long? And I'll say, well, dinner has 70 ingredients, so it's taking a long time. You know, because Shakeology has 70 ingredients, so. But, okay. Alrighty, guys. Well, don't forget, next week, Jenny's going to be speaking, so make sure to be on for that, and we will figure out what her exact topic is going to be, and post that so that you can be inviting your team to be on, and I'll keep you posted on the behavioral thing that I was telling you about, the guy, and other than that, make sure you're registered for Summit and get your Success Club points in a non-pushy way. And if you haven't done your size workout tonight for the charity thing, make sure you do, because that's an awesome cause. And that's all I have.
The money.
Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome. See you guys later. Have an awesome
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.